Hi there, Neil from Diagonal Move here, about to start a playthrough for Salerno 43, the shorter scenario called Avalanche, which takes us up to September the 16th, so that's 8 turns, and at the end of turn 8 the Allies need to have 8 victory points. The Germans of course need to prevent them from doing that. Jumping straight into the action, if you do need a more detailed rules overview, there's a whole video about it over on the other parts of the channel. I'll put a link into the description or pop up on the screen maybe, so that you can find that more easily should you need it. First turn of course begins with the Allied invasion phase, and that replaces the weather phase, so we're just going to jump straight into it and see how we get on. Okay, let's start at the top then with the Rangers, followed by the 41 and 2nd Commando units, the Uncle Sugar, Roger, Beach Invasion, and then Red Beach and Blue Beach from the American side. So let's roll on that CRT for the Rangers and see if we can't get ourselves into the port of Miori. And that is a 4, so on a 4 we move in and advance 2, so moving in and then let's just advance 2 up that road. Okay, awesome. Let's just pop in a marker to show that that is now a Commonwealth port and a victory point as well. That's an awesome start for the Allies. Moving on to the 31st Commando and the 2nd Commando, we have a 1. That's pretty pitiful, meaning we can just advance 1. And so we move in to Viente su Mare, I think, maybe, not sure how you pronounce it, and we pop our Rangers just there, outside of Salerno, but not into Salerno itself. Onto the beaches now. We can take some step losses on here. This was where the more significant German resistance was historically, and that's reflected in the CRT. So let's roll again. We rolled a 1, that is dire, so we take a step loss from one of these guys here. What have we got? We got a tank unit, the 46th are there. We could either lose a unit completely or take a reduction on the larger one. Let's do that. Got a reduction on the larger one. A beachhead goes on, and then we'll pop in the remainder of the forces and combine with the tank. Now we can't move any further, but we are at least on the beach. Sugar Beach, let's see how Sugar Beach goes. That's a 3. Sugar Beach is just it's advanced 2. So Sugar Beach, we have the 56th coming in, and then let's pop them just there. Not on the airfield, but nearby. Not sure if that's tactically a good thing to do. Maybe I should go and hold the airfield. Yeah, let's move and hold the airfield. Okay, cool. Ideally, I would have liked to have gone onto the airfield there from this beach, but that's just not to be today. Okay, the 56th coming in on Roger Beach. That is a 1. Okay, that is also appalling, which means we do go on to and then stop at the beachhead there. Okay, under that unit as well, we also that stack, we do have a couple of infantry divisions and a tank detachment. Onto the American side then, we have a 4 for Red Beach. 4 is advanced 2. That's much better. So we're going to move in and then bring those guys off the beach and onto the VP hex. And I think we're probably going to go onto the VP hex. Let's do that. Cool. So that's another VP for the Allies. Finally then, in this invasion phase, we have Blue Beach. That's a 5. Blue Beach is advanced 2. So we'll come on and then move the units down, and let's go for, good question, do we go for along the coastline towards the town of Agropoli, try and get another VP, or do we try to come here? Let's do that. Let's go there. Don't want to get those German sides attacking in straight away if we can possibly avoid it. Okay, the invasion is done, and now it's time to think about the Germans' first turn. Before I dive into the German phase, I completely forgot I should have done breakthrough combat, or at least taken the advantage of breakthrough combat up here out the edge of Salerno. This is why I don't do playthrough videos live, because I'm constantly having to forget and go back on myself. Benefit of stopping the video, I guess. Right, but anyway, breakthrough combat. At the top we have the Rangers, both of which, the Commandos, both of which are elite units, but we can only really count the one, going up against the garrison in Salerno itself. Okay, so we have a total attacking strength of 4, and we also have the elite shift when that is applicable, if that becomes applicable. And on the defenders side, we roll for variable strength first. Just find the right page of the table there. And we have a 4, so that means that has a 1. It is doubled to a 2, so that's going to be a 4 to 1. Sorry, a 2 to 1 on the baseline CRT. Which, if I just find the correct page, and hopefully we can see it. 2 to 1 on the baseline CRT is just here. We can add in that elite shift. And do I want to chuck in some support markers? Yeah, let's go and use the... good question. Both the air units are available on this first turn. And I've just realised I have been doing the wrong supply points. So we have 1 supply point. I have 2 VP, not 2 supply points for the Americans. Okay, so combat. Let us go 2 to 1 with the elite shift. Pop in the marker there for another shift, bringing it up to 3 to 1. I think that will probably have to do. So 3 to 1, we've rolled a 6 and taken out the panzers at 20 miles away, but we've rolled a 6 on the 3 to 1, which is a D1 advance 3. Okay, awesome. That means that the defender loses a step, and I think because it's a garrison, it is actually removed. It's a variable strength unit. Cool, and then we get to we ignore the fact that the defender can, if the defender retreats and becomes disrupted because they've been eliminated, therefore we move up to 3 hexes with mechanized units and 2 hexes with non-mechanized, which means my commandos will go into Salerno, grabbing a couple more VP. Fantastic. Now it is the Germans' turn, beginning with the initial phase, where we place reinforcements, use replacements, and flip ASUs. Okay, so the last 2 don't apply on this turn, but we do grab some reinforcements. Okay, starting the camera again because I put the wrong amount of reinforcements units up on the board. We are on turn 1, not turn 2. Therefore, the replacement or the reinforcement units for the Germans are restricted to just a couple of counters. Fallschirmjäger units down in the south, just off screen, and then up in the north we have a Hermann Göring reconnaissance vehicle. Okay, now these guys can come on and move as normal in this turn. So let us think about how we're going to move all these guys. And I'll just kind of start at the top and move my way around, really. We need to bear in mind that there's a restriction in movement, and I believe we have half movement, meaning most of the mobile units are going to move maximum 3, and the foot soldiers maximum 2 if they can move at all. But we can use the truck counters here, which are currently swimming, to boost that up should we choose to. Now I think I probably will do that down in the south, but in the north I think 3 may be enough to get us road movement into this VP hex here, Nocera and Fiore. I think that's how you pronounce it. Apologies profusely if I'm horribly butchering that. So we have, moving on here, we have 1 using movement, 2, 3, no, not quite, damn. Okay, so we're going to go there, that's where they are, okay. And down in the south we'll use that truck movement to move this guy here, a grand total of 5, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be silly, so let's, and that's also completely off the screen, but trust me, I'm making many mistakes as we go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. I think that's where that unit can go. Okay, fantastic, but that did spend that movement point. And again, that is somewhat off the screen, but trust me, down the bottom there is some movement of forces. Starting here with this guy, he is, or they are foot soldiers, so they're just going to go 2, and we're going to bring them, where do we bring them? That's a good question. Okay, first decision of the game, what to do with this garrison here in the north, just outside Sorrento. Took me a bit of thought, and after a bit of thinking I decided it was probably time to go and feed the cats. After a bit more thinking, I thought I would use tactical movement to move that garrison over here with the aim of attacking the Rangers from the southwest there. After a bit more thinking, I realised that was a completely stupid idea, because not only is it incredibly slow, but these guys don't actually have any attack strength at all. So it'd probably make far more sense for me to move using truck movement, my last truck movement, push them 3 spaces using road movement, thanks to the vehicle, which will bring me 1, 2, and 3. Let's put them there. Awesome. Okay, they are going to come along with the intention of supporting the Fallschirmjäger unit just there eventually, or maybe even just sitting on Sarno. Yeah, Sarno. Okay, so moving down, we've moved the Fallschirmjäger unit. They were the reinforcements. We have another garrison there that has no movement or attack strength, so therefore Avellino will stay held by that garrison for now. Reconnaissance unit for the 16th Panzers, they really probably need to be heading towards Salerno, or alternatively coming this way to try and take Vierti sul Mare and be a bit of an aggravation to the landing team when they come later. Okay, let's have a think about that. I could sit here, or I could move around. How far would that get me? So they have a movement of 6, which would be mechanized because they're reconnaissance, and that would be 1, 2, that'd be 1.5, 2.5. So that would actually allow me to go there. There's no zone of control preventing me from doing that currently. Fantastic. That is a successful move, I think. Maybe. Okay, back after another pause, this time to let the cat outside. Right, how do we get these German forces to the beachheads and really create havoc there for the Commonwealth? Good question. Let us start with the movement phase, I think, for the 16th Panzers just there. We do have a... Right, several hours, multiple cat-related distractions later, we are back on the landing beaches of Salerno with the Germans' first turn in the movement phase, deciding what to do with the 16th Panzers, which are bordering the landing beaches of the Commonwealth near Battipaglia and the Montecovino airfield. Basically, the German side need to really push hard and try and take advantage of a brief moment where the Allies are quite weak on landing, particularly after some bad rolls like I had here. So the question is, do I really drive these guys forward, come up this way to try and prevent them moving too far off that beach? Do I use this unit here, this mobile infantry, to come up here towards Salerno, or do I kind of keep them here and support on the attacking areas near the airfield? So like Battipaglia and the airfield are both victory hexes, so if the Allies take them, they will be several steps further ahead. The Panzer ASU, the 16th Division Panzer ASU, does have a range of 4, so we could go to here, attack that hex with the support from the ASU, bringing up the tank. What we really want to try to avoid, though, is the Americans being able to come this way and punch through. So let's see what we do. Okay, I think let's decide what to do with these guys first. I think it probably wouldn't hurt to move them just to here. Then they have the zonal control in both those places, putting a bit of pressure on both sides. Let's do that. So that's going to be 2 movement points for the mobile infantry. So they've moved. That's cool. Actually, let's take that back. Let's bring them there into the airfield. I'm not going to worry too much about Salerno for now, but let's stop them coming off those beaches. Let's attack here onto the airfield, because if we move too far away from the airfield as the Germans, we do lose our air cover. Not that it's very, very relevant right now. It only happens basically when we have one turn out of every 7 or every 6 where the airfield isn't any good to us. And we'll bring the Panzers and the reconnaissance unit out of the victory point hex here, and again into Battle Plagia. The Panzers this side will come across. Now we can't do the zone of control bond, so what I think we'll do is we'll move, we'll just pop them, we just want them to prevent the Commonwealth getting off those beaches already at this point. They would be quite weak there, it has to be said, but it's a little bit tricky to know what to do. Under here we have mobile infantry and panzers. Let's stick it to that, because too much thinking and my brain will melt at this time of the day. Right, okay. Down here then, I think I will leave these guys as they currently are. Appreciate you can't see everything that's down there. Let me just try and move the camera down a wee bit. There we go. Okay, so I think we can just about see everything there. We do have a mobile garrison just off shot that I will use the road movement for, to come and support the defence there on the hills of Ogliastro. Okay, can't move that garrison unit, that's got no movement. These guys have moved part of the unit when we brought them on as reinforcements. Okay, movement is done. Let's pan back up a little bit and try to think about how we're going to resolve combat. That unit here would be at a disadvantage if we attack into Salerno with just that unit, because of it's a 4 strength unit. It's an elite unit, which is pretty good, but it's a 4 strength, and these guys here combined would be 4 plus the defending buff from the city of Salerno or the port of Salerno, would actually make that a 1-2, which is not great at all. So I think the only combat really we're going to do now as the Germans is this one here in the airfield. Main attacking force is going to be this combined reconnaissance unit, I want to say, and panzers underneath, meaning that is a 5 strength attack coming up against a 5 strength defending divisions there from the 56th. So that'll be 1-to-1. We will get an elite shift and a tank shift for the attacking side, pushing that up to a 3-to-1, and I've misplaced my CRT. So we have, the tank shift is allowed because we are in clear terrain, so that's cool, that's important to note. We do also need to bear in mind the defending modifiers down here. So they only really get a tank shift, air support, or the rain. Well, the rain wouldn't be necessarily too applicable right now. So they can use air support. We do have the Commonwealth air support, but I just wonder whether it would be worth hanging tight on that until we go on the offensive as the Allies in just a moment. So okay then, so that is going to be, it's a 5 against a 5. And I've just realised I should have added in a point there, but that doesn't really change anything. We do have the ASU, so let's flip that too. So that's gone from tank shift, elite shift, ASU, that's gone from a 1-to-1 up to a 4-to-1, and let's roll that dice. That's a 5 on the 4-to-1 column, so that's a D1, advanced 3. Okay, so what that means is defenders lose a step, must retreat, and then they become disrupted or conduct a determined defence. I think for now we will conduct a determined defence. We could possibly chuck in something there. Nope, actually we can't, because we haven't got the battleship. We used the battleship before, so we are basically looking at a lose a step and conduct a determined lose a step and retreat, or conduct a determined defence. We'll do the determined defence. The lead unit is going to be the unit on the top, and we will roll for that, and that is a 3. A 3 in clear terrain is the defence has failed. Is basically a dash there. So we still lose the step and retreat 3. Now we don't have to retreat back per se. We could go 1, 2 and then 3. Let's do that. Get them out of the way of any forces and kind of nudge upwards towards Salerno. Just need to pop on the disrupted counter, so they're basically not going to do anything next turn. Now these guys do, I think, get to advance. They do get to advance, so we are going to advance into the airfield. Potentially we could do breakthrough combat, but that would be pretty brutal, I think, doing breakthrough combat there. We could potentially, if we come back a second, we could potentially advance here. And again, we have a pretty brutal combat there if we choose to. So let's just stop here, I think, for now. Yeah, let's just stop there for now. I'm not sure if that's sensible. I kind of think now's the time to take the breakthrough. We do have the defending buff there to 5, 7 against 5. That's not good. That would be a 1 to 2. No, let's just stop as the Germans. Okay, potential for combat down here, but let's just think about that for a moment. That is a VP hex down there. So let's think we've got a 5 against a 6. That's a 1-to-1. We have the tank. They don't have a tank, and we are an elite. So that would be 2 shifts. So 1-to-1 with 2 shifts. I think it is worth doing this combat down here with the other parts of the 16th Panzers against the 36th on the American side. Let's do that. 1-to-1 then, shifting over 2 column shifts, 1 for the tank and 1 for the elite. And let's see what we roll. Rolled a 4. Bravely stopped by the beachhead there. So a 4 on the 3-to-1 column is DR2 advance 2. So the defender retreats 2. And then we get to advance. We're going to do the determined defense again, I think, as the attacker. This time we can bring in the battleship to have a buff to that roll. And so we've got a 1, which is buffed up to 2, and in clear terrain, that is a step loss plus the original result. Lead unit being the top unit, and that unit is eliminated. These guys are having to retreat, and they retreat 2. Ooh, that's not so good. Okay, let's go 1 and then 2, I guess. May not be allowed to do that, but that's what we're going to do just for the purposes of today. The units become disrupted, and then we advance 2, which we will do. I'll push both those guys into the vacated hex. We will perform breakthrough combat this time because we do have the 5 against 4, so that's 1-to-1 plus the 2 shifts again, so that's going to be 3-to-1 again. The defenders have the 4 plus 2, which is 6 in total. So that's going to be a 1-to-1, so it's 3-to-1 again, so exactly the same result as before. Rolling the die, that's a 5 on the 3-to-1, that's A1, D1, advance 2. Both sides lose a step, surviving defenders retreat 2, become disrupted or conduct a determined defence. Okay, so flip those guys. They are actually a poor quality unit now. We lose a step. We will have a determined defence because they can't really go anywhere now. The allies, I mean, they could, but you know, so that's a 6, which is a defender loses a step and then holds, but they've already lost that step. They're not big enough a unit, I don't think, off the top of my head, to warrant the remnant, so I think we are losing that unit. Now, in terms of there's no advance after combat now because we did a breakthrough, but I'm just conscious that that is a beachhead unit. I just need to check whether they... No, I believe we stay put. Now that's quite challenging because we are in a zone of control, making it a bit more difficult for the allies. Plus, should this unit here advance into one of those in the next turn, the both those beachheads, if they're lost, will be VPs for the Germans. But talking of VPs, let's adjust the hexes. So we have currently got just 3 VPs, I think. We've got 2 in Salerno, 1 there. So, okay, no need to do any more adjustment. I didn't actually put it up the first time. Okay, combat done, movement done, onto recovery. Nobody on the German side needs to rally, so we just lift off the truck points to show that we can now move those guys normally next turn. And we begin the supply phase. Nobody is out of supply. We can draw supply basically to the edges of the map for all the Germans currently. ASU will flip because we use that, so we'll spend a supply point, flip that ASU, and then we move to the Allies phase. Okay, starting with the initial phase where we bring on reinforcements. The Allies don't really get reinforcements for a while, but they do have this second invasion wave coming, which will be on turn 2. That's this big pile of stuff here. But this turn we have the sort of the second wave invasion, which is these guys. And we just need to decide where to put them. So for the Commonwealth, we have a couple of infantry units there, quite big ones. And then here we have similarly quite big infantry unit, some tanks, and an ASU and a tank destroying unit. So as the Allies, what to do? Well, we've got a bit of a problem, frankly, because we have this unit here extending a zone of control, basically where we want to go. We are also quite heavily stacked. Although that's actually only 3, so we could put 1 unit on top of that. Alternative option would be to put them both in there. Don't really want to add to that one. That one is also... Actually, that's not near as heavily stacked as this one, which is the 56th. So we could put those 46 units into Sugar Beach and potentially use those as a main attacking force. But if we do, they'll be attacking at part strength because they're coming on for the first time from the movement. Let me just double check that. Yeah, we'd need to put a half effectiveness counter on there. And we're coming on into that zone of control, but let's sort that out as our first task. We must stop in the landing hex. Okay, so let's just put both of those guys on there. So they do actually come down to a reduced value. Well, they come on at a reduced value, mainly basically they're half strength and they can only advance 1 after combat regardless of the result. Okay, so that's that reinplacement unit on with its movement done. The Americans now will come on a tank unit and a 36th division, I think it is. And then also the 36th Division, ASU and tank destroying unit there, or group. Now they can basically stack for free, so in total that there would only be 4 points because we've got the free ASU, one of the tank units is free, and then the division itself was only worth 2, I think. So that's fine. So we're good. Okay, so that's where we'll go with these guys, but they do come on half effectiveness again. But then that is quite tricky because I think what we'll do is we'll pop one there and we'll pop the other one there because we don't want to risk losing a zone of control, quite frankly. Not a zone of control, losing a beachhead. That's the wrong one. Okay, so those guys have all come on and we're now in the movement phase because we can't flip any ASUs. Okay, we have air available for both the Commonwealth and the Americans. These are all at half effectiveness with the yellow tokens on. These guys are disrupted. Salerno could attack out, but I mean these guys here in the reconnaissance unit, they would be, from memory, they are technically an infantry unit. No, they do count as a vehicle, so they wouldn't get the double strength, so it would be a straight up 1-to-1. But there's very little support there that there's people in Salerno will receive. So attacking that unit or that group there from the 16th Panzers is quite risky, particularly as we don't want to lose Salerno. Option, of course, would be to push these guys across the mountain to support there. But then they can't really offer support because of the organisational barrier that the Commonwealth and the American forces do have. So we need to think about what's next. Ranger units, frankly, are just going to push across. They can't move directly into here because we have the mountain hex. They would have to go there, stop, next turn, move across using tactical movement. That's just off camera, isn't it? But there we go. So we can't quite go into there just yet, but what we could do is potentially move in here and then threaten the Hermann Goering reconnaissance unit. That would probably work. What to do down here? So down in this stack we have a beachhead, a tank unit or a tank division, a reduced 46th and a full strength, or admittedly relatively weak full strength unit. So that's going to be an interesting thing to do. We could attack here. The tank units would cancel each other out, I think, from memory. I don't think there's any difference there in terms of their tank strength. No, they're both at 3. So that would cancel each other out and would have good supporting fire from here. So I don't think I feel the need to move this unit. This unit's already moved, so let's move this stack, which is the 56th. Now they can help each other out, but they can't necessarily what's the word? They can't combine as the main attacking force. So they are the 56th. They have a decent number of points there. In terms of strength points, that is 8. That's pretty cool. Let's move those there. It does leave the beachhead slightly exposed for next turn, but we'll see what happens when we get to that. Don't believe we have an ASU under there for the... No, we don't. No ASU there for the Commonwealth. Okay. But carrying on with the movement phase before we think too hard about the combat. In fact, I don't think I want to move anybody else because these guys have moved. This one, yeah, might work, might not. I think they're quite happy where they are, though, to be perfectly blunt. These markers come off at the end of my turn, so they will be full strength next time, meaning any attack from these guys into here would be quite a challenge for the Germans. To combat, let's go straight into combat, and let's start at the top with the Rangers and the unit. Oh, camera's gone funny there. Rangers with the reconnaissance unit for the Hermann Goering. Now the Hermann Goering is in clear terrain. It has a defense of 2, but it is an elite, meaning it will cancel out the elite shift for the Rangers. Thankfully, we do have 3 Rangers there, so that's going to be 6 versus 2. 6 against 2 is 3-1 plus the counter. That's going to be 4-1 in clear terrain for the Rangers. So let's roll. That's 3 at 4-1. That's A1D1. So both lose a step. Survivors must retreat 2, become disrupted, or conduct determined defense, and then advance after combat for the attackers. So lose a step for both sides, and that is a destroyed German reconnaissance unit. That will also take out a Ranger unit, though. And then they can advance. We could go into the X, but we don't have to. Now that is pretty awkward because there's mountains there, so we can't. We'd have to become reduced effectiveness if we went there. So let's just follow the road to there, and then the second X would be to go there, giving us the town of Sierra Lufiore and a VP as the allies. That's pretty cool. I won't worry about Salerno. No combat in Salerno. I want to make sure these guys are able to support a little bit better before I do any combat there. And then, meaning the only other combat that I'll do, or the only combat that I'll do, is this one here, with the main attacking force being the 56th. So that is going to be 3 for the 167th, 2 for the 708, and then 3 for the tank division underneath. Of course, that will be the main attacking force, so that is 3, 5, 8, plus 4, 6, half that additional 3, so that is 11 versus 5, that is 2-1. The tanks will cancel each other out. The elite shift doesn't count for the defenders, but we do have this Commonwealth support marker there in the airborne, so we will have 2-1, 3-1, including the air cover, so 3-1, and we'll roll the die. So 3, we are in clear terrain, giving us a DR2 advance 2. Defender must retreat and become disrupted, or conduct determined defense. Determined defense, I think, using the thingy here to the ASU to add a +1 to that, and that's a 1. My goodness, that is awful. Meaning it is a loss for this guy, lead unit being the top one. Pretend I chose that before I said it, and then we retreat back 2, so 1, 2, and then we are disrupted for the start of the next turn. Okay, that is terrible for the Germans. It was an A1 DR2, so we can now advance 2, and it would make perfect sense, I think, to put at least one of those guys in there leaving the other behind just to stop any potential advance into that beachhead there. Okay, which is another VP for the allies, pushing the ally VPs up to 5. Okay, I think I'll check that in a minute. Rally units, nothing needs rallying. Actually, sorry, this one is rallying. It's a straight rally because there's no enemy zone of control. Take off the effectiveness markers, we don't need those anymore. And I believe everyone on the Allied side is in supply. Everyone can reach a beachhead or a port. Okay, so yep, they can. And therefore, I believe all that's left to do is check the VPs. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's it. So in fact, my original calculation was incorrect. We should have 4 VPs. Because the counter move was that one, so there we go, that's better. 4 VPs, 2 supply points for the Germans. I did that bit wrong. And we are at the end of the turn, moving now into turn 2, which is the 2nd of September, and we now roll for the weather next turn. But I think this video is probably hitting a fairly decent length of time now, so I'll pause there, come back for turn 2 at a later time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.